It's been quite an evolution to go from streaming over here and having no light to then having a light but sitting on the floor to finally having a chair. Oh, it feels so nice to just sit back and relax. Those lovely wheels never felt so good. I mean, I just can't believe I took up residence here back in the last few days of June, and up until a few days ago, I just had nothing to sit in. If I wanted to sit somewhere, it was on the floor, or you take some pillows and sit on top of those. But now, at last, the chair. It's excellent. It's everything I ever dreamt of and more. So, um, one of the little scams that my job likes to do is that they post I guess I'd rather talk about the other thing. This is all part of the can't catch a break saga. I was driving back from work on, I believe it was Tuesday night, and I felt like something was wrong with the tires or a tire. And for that reason, I kind of wasn't really that happy. I was like making sure, like, okay, let me see what's going to happen here. Something, just I felt something was off. So what I devised was that the next day before I went to work, I would go to a tire place, have them change out the tire, and then I'd be on my merry way. Now, the guy I went to last time something like this happened, which was back in August, and it was horrible in August, was closed. I don't know if he's out of town. I don't know. But you go and you look online, it says these are his hours, and then you come over there that day and the place is closed down. So this was very obnoxious, annoying, irritating, but I said, okay, whatever, no crying over spilled milk. I'm gonna go to another tire place. I go to these guys. I I've never been here before. I see them sitting in their little backlot area, and I'm like, "Hey, can you guys change this tire for me?" And now they do this, right? It's like $50, and then I start to drive the car, and I still feel like something's off, and I can't quite put my finger on it. But I'm thinking maybe it's just me because I'm like, I just changed the tires; it should be fine. I'm thinking, hey, maybe it's just me being crazy. Maybe I'm, you know, not. Thinking straight, I guess. Sometimes when bad things happen to me, I kind of have like a pessimistic vibe of like, oh man, something else horrible is going to happen. I can already tell. But I figured, okay, maybe this is just me thinking something that's not so. Um, and sure enough, I'm driving on this kind of this like weird feeling for the usual 30-mile adventure, and I'm about 5 miles from my destination from the job. I'm on the freeway. I've got maybe, I'd say at a maximum like 7 minutes left on the freeway. I'm almost off of it. When all of a sudden I hear, and when this usually happens, I'll get some alert on my like the notifications on the car. It'll say, hey, brake or whatever. Something just indicating your tire is done. I pull over to one of the little lanes and I look and I see that the tire didn't explode like the one in August, but it's like pieces of it are cracked off, like peeling off. And I was very irritated. I had this guy. I don't know what they're not highway patrol. They're like some other entity, and this guy told me I can't park there, so I just drive it off the freeway and go to a nearby gas station, park there, and use my insurance company to tow me back. Um, had a nice conversation with the guy that did it. And the next day, I got up. I went to sleep very early because what tends to happen is that a lot of days when, like, I explained before, the drive to get to my job can be a hassle, especially in a lot of traffic. And it's it's so frustrating to be that close to being there and then not be able to go. So I just once I got back, I put together this chair which I'd gone and picked up from the place it was delivered to that same day. The box was so big I had to actually take all the pieces out and stick them in my back seat and then just drive, take it back that way. But I took all the pieces and compiled and finished this wonderful thing of excellence. And after doing that, I went to sleep relatively early compared to when I usually go to sleep, which is like sometime in the early hours of the morning, like right before sunrise. At this point, and the next day, I got up around 4 o'clock, four something, because I didn't intend to sleep as early, so I just couldn't go back to sleep. I moved the car down to this restaurant's parking lot because the street is like so congested that I didn't want the tow truck to like take up space where people couldn't go down the street. And I waited. They told me the guy was going to give me a call or a text message. Instead, I get a knock on the back of my window, which kind of like unnerves me because I'm like, why didn't I get the notification? He pulls it over to this tire place. They start telling me that and this is what happens with people who don't. I guess maybe it's because English isn't their first language. I don't know, but I try explaining to the person I need a new tire. And they're like, we cannot give you a new wheel. I'm like, no, new tire, not the wheel. The internal part, the tire, what's around it, and then they're able to replace it for $40, and that's how I spent $90 on getting two new wheels in less than 2 days, and still ended up not being able to go to work because one of them exploded on me or had pieces of it come off or whatever. So since Thursday, everything's been functioning properly. Um, what I'm most frustrated by is that because I leave 2 hours early, and sometimes even earlier than that to get to work. Like today, I left at 1 o'clock for a shift that started at 5, and that was because I wanted to go to the market and then pick up something from somebody else's place again. And I got there around 3 o'clock. But what's so frustrating about this is that, and I explained this in the video I did. These places don't want to pay people more money, so they give you these stupid half shifts that are like at weird hours of the day and fluctuate and are all over the place. Sometimes you go in as early as 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes you go in as late as 8 p.m. And what's horrible about this is that because the shift is so late in the night in terms of when it starts, um, when this tire thing happened, I wasn't able to just, go to a tire place, have them changed, and be on my merry way to work because by that point, 6 o'clock, in the afternoon, evening, all the tire places are closed. So just like today, they had me going at 5. Me leaving at 1. If something happens to the car, that's enough time to be towed somewhere, have them put a wheel on it, and then still be on your way to the job. So it's just a really frustrating, just concatenation of events. But I'm glad Akatsuki Merchant is here again. I figured he'd forgotten me. I'm not. I used to be one of his top 10 favorite streamers. Now I'm not even in the top 1 million. He's found so many other people that he prefers over me. It's really hurtful. I mean, I remember when Akatsuki Merchant would just appear and he'd have all these jokes and comments to make. I'll be lucky if I see him write one message. I usually have to pray to get him to appear. Oh, also, I mentioned before that there's like a McDonald's that's close to my place, and I like to go in there because they have free Wi-Fi. A lot of times in the middle of the afternoon, not as much in like the later part of the evening, but still, or afternoon rather, it'll be pretty hot, and they have air conditioning. So I go in there and I'm just cooling off on the computer. I used to like to try to get a free drink, but they don't let me do that anymore. I mean, only water, as the lady said. So I go in there and I'm just sitting on the computer. I'm typing some stuff out. I always have some side quests in terms of like I'll draw something, I'll write something. And there's a tendency during the weekdays for these high school and middle school kids to just start swarming in there. And it'll be like sometimes 15, 30, 40 students just appear inside the building. The place gets so congested and crowded that like a lot of times if I show up, have like a shift that starts at 5 and get there after 3, there's nowhere to sit, or there's very few places to sit because they're just all packed up in these different, little areas. But I'm sitting here, I'm on the computer, typing things out, writing more of this script for Nixon Part 3. And all of a sudden there's like some boys who are sitting on the other side of the restaurant. The place isn't that big, so I can like see them clearly. I'm kind of at a position where their chair is kind of like it's like behind me and like to the side. So like if I turn my head, I can see it kind of a little bit like that. And there's some other boy who comes in there with the guy, I guess, behind him. And I don't know what was said. I don't know what was stated because I'm not really paying that much attention. I'm like, he's like, hey, you, yeah. And they go up to each other and just start smacking up. One of them has his glasses fall off and hit the ground and break like the part, this side handle part just gets completely ripped off or falls off or taken off from just the calamity of the hit the impact of the ground. And all of the different it must have been like 4 or 5 McDonald's employees all rushed to try and stop these two and told them to get out of there. And let me tell you how stupid these kids are. So they call the police to to get these kids that are fighting out of their restaurants, rightfully so, I would say. One of them comes back in there and he's like, "Yo, where's my phone? Yo, where's my phone?" And I was thinking to myself, "You dummy, you're gonna you're gonna come back in here for your device that you clearly didn't care enough about to just not misplace during this scuffle that was had, knowing that these people, one, just called the police on you, and two, they have you on video so that even if you flee, they can still show what you look like, get your picture, etc." Like I'm not even trying to be funny. Sometimes I think people, even like teenagers and a lot of these younger kids, they have something inside their brains that just makes it not function. Because I remember back when I was in high school years back, and I had my share of physical conflicts. I would never be stupid enough to do it in a setting that was not the school, like a controlled environment. Because when you go off campus to meet someone that you don't like, had a problem with, uh, you're putting yourself, one, at more risk because who knows what they have on them when they're not at school, right? And there's no teachers to like protect you or kind of like control it a little bit. But also because when you go to a lot of these public places, they don't give a hoot if you're only 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You go into their business, you start acting up, making the customers that are there feel kind of uncomfortable, nervous, which I certainly did when they started beating on each other. You are going to get in levels of trouble that you would not get into if it happened on campus. Kotsky Merchant writes, real people really do pull up in streams just to stand around. really do pull up in swarms just to stand around in the building. I'm telling you, man, this is what it looks like. They all stand up and they just hover. Like they're just standing there talking. You'll have three or four of them sitting down in like a little cubicle, right? Like where there's a chair that's like this, there's like a side of it where it's big enough for two people sitting, and on the other side it's the same thing. And then there will be like three, four standing up. Yeah, man, I heard that she said this, and hey, I called the teacher an N word at school. And one of them was like bragging about calling their teacher that. Just like weird stuff because you think to yourself, these kids are such friends with each other. Why the hell do they have to meet at McDonald's? Like I had kids, I considered at the time my friends during middle school, preschool, middle school, high school, and never once did we have to meet in these like weird public settings just to talk or like I don't know. I guess maybe it's because I've always been more particularly when I was younger, comfortable in situations where it was just like me and another, one other person, two other people, three other people. So you wouldn't see me like just in some giant group talking. Um, but even then, I just think it's weird. Like we're such good friends that we have to go and meet each other only in settings where there's a bunch of complete strangers, but we're all such good friends. He said teenage me would die of embarrassment. I mean, I really don't understand what the logic of that fight was because they called the police and they did show up and they sat out there for a while. I don't know if they got them because I only was able to stay a little for about maybe 40, 50 minutes after that happened because I had to go in for the shift. But the cops did show up. I saw their beautiful little white and black car appear in the front of the building. Man, these kids, they do things I'll never understand. Like I said, even when I was that age, I knew better than to if I was going to fight somebody, I wouldn't do it somewhere where there's a bunch of strangers, it's off campus. Cuz like the kids I didn't like at school, I didn't see them outside of school. Seriously, like there was never a single kid who I couldn't stand or despised where I had their even like I don't even think a lot of them might even have their number. You have their number and you're gonna go see them at this bowling alley down the street or at this McDonald's or like it's stupid and weird. I had a friend I'd go to the library with after school. After we did our homework, of the we would spend the rest of the reading Dragon Ball Z manga and talking about it. Again, I'm just saying that I don't understand the point of going and meeting with someone who you apparently don't like in a setting that is public and has people who could potentially get you in trouble because they don't like the way you're acting or you're making a disturbance for the rest of the customers. When those two started fighting, everyone reacted, and it was kind of close to me. Like they're not like right exactly at my table, but they're probably about 10 yards away. And I was just like, what in the because I'd never hey, you've never seen this. You're right. I have to make this the third version of that. But I've been in this McDonald's at least a dozen or so times. And I've never seen anything like that. The only other incident I saw where there was like threat of police showing up was when this one kid went to the play. And I say kid, it's like a 14, one of these like middle schoolers, high schoolers. He went to I guess sit around or jump in the playpen, the little area they have for little kids, right? And one of the guys that worked there, either him or somebody else, was like dialing someone on their phone, and it took another kid to another one of the boys that was there saying, "He's calling the police, dumb," and then expletive, and then he's like, "Oh, the police will be here in this much amount of time," or something to that effect. You got to wonder who these kids' parents are. They think it's okay to act like this. It's really crazy. I don't even like. I'm not even trying to sound like an old man, like back in my day, but I've you never in a million years would have seen me when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, going to McDonald's or one of these other restaurants and see some kid I didn't like and then try to like fight him in front of all these people. Oh man, I would that would have never happened. Because like I said, I didn't even hang out in any public setting where I'm just gonna randomly be around people I know I don't like, and it's just so weird, man. But yeah, they had a big tussle yesterday, and the police showed up, and I had some people at my job who I was talking to about it later on during the shift because this guy's like, "Oh, that's why that police car was outside me." I was like, "Yeah, they decided to turn that restaurant into a damn tape session of Smackdown." I'm telling you, these kids are not like this for no reason. They're getting it from some adult fights in their life or on social media. Oh, I absolutely believe social media plays a part of it because remember, people can get notable and famous for like doing stupid stuff, just like any old dumb thing. So I have no doubt in my mind when they do these physical confrontations in front of, in some public forum, they probably have some friends sitting in the corner recording it. Like actually, after they left, there were some like people sitting behind me, some boy and some girl, and one of the boys like, I should record it, but I was too nervous. And of course, I didn't think to record it because I didn't even expect it to happen. I was just like sitting here, and it's usual peaceful stuff. People are at their table, and the employees are calling out the customers' numbers and to come and get their little stupid overpriced order. And all of a sudden, two factions show up and they exchange a few words and then, man, I'm telling you, it took like 3 or 4 employees getting involved to get them to stop. I said, man, I just you know that is ridiculous. Like I have a lot of sympathy for fast food workers because it's just not a job that most of us would ever want to spend. Like being 30 or 40 or 50 doing that type of work is just misery inducing as a thought for a lot of us. But dude, could you imagine like you're a fast food employee. You got to make this food. You have to like take orders. When you take the orders, sometimes you have to call them out over and over again because people won't listen or they can't hear you because they're too old or whatever, or there's people in there that are too loud. And then some days when you're sitting here doing your fast food job taking orders, you have to like break up fights between some crazy kids who, if they had 2 brain cells to rub together, wouldn't even be in the same building at the same time. I mean, it's I really feel bad for those employees. Like, I'm not kidding at all. When you work somewhere and people can just come in there and do any old crazy crap, because it's like you're basically playing babysitter, and that's ridiculous. Like, you're not their mom, you're not their dad, and you have to sit here and try to break up their stupid scuffle. I really don't like that stuff, man. I really it turns my stomach because I could be one of them. I've tried to. I've applied for those types of jobs before. I mean, in my desperation, I'll take almost damn near any job. Um, he said, for real, they don't get paid to deal with that. I'm serious. Anytime you have a job that's involving customer service, and like I mentioned, one time I worked at a retailer. I have never, again, personally seen it at a retailer, but when you're in these restaurant settings and they're kind of like next to schools and churches, and well, you probably wouldn't see this with churches, but like places where people congregate and see each other frequently, and it's like the younger, right, the like teenage group that sort of hangs out in there and comes in there and whatever, whatever. You are at risk to have stuff like that happen a lot. And no, they don't get paid to deal with that. So, like again, imagine you're making all this food, you're taking these orders, and then some days out of the week you have to like play mommy and daddy to kids that can't keep their hands to themselves, that if they want to do this stupid violent weird nonsense, they can't have the decency to do it somewhere where it's not affecting most a bunch of random people who didn't ask for it, did nothing to deserve having to see that. People love bringing their personal problems to places of business. Not me, man. I've never done that anywhere. Seriously, like if I have a problem with someone, and if like let's say it's a relative, I'll call the person, I'll go and see them in person at their place. Few instances has been my place. I've never once walked into a place of business and started an argument or a scuffle or any of this other stuff at all. Somebody's car is going off. Great. It's just not something I think is necessary. And man, it was a sight to behold, because when you see the employees, right, it's like, man, I keep picturing in my head when you apply for these jobs, they talk about be able to lift this kind of stuff. Um, you know, you need to learn how to do this, that, and the other. Nowhere in your job does it say, hey, if some stupid kids come in there and want to beat each other up or get mad and try to fight, you're gonna have to break it up. Because see, if it were me, I probably, because my problem with a lot of this stuff is that I'm always thinking about how it can come back and like bite me. And if you put your hands on them, they can say, "Oh, this adult grabbed on me" or whatever. Um, I probably would call like if I'm an employee there and they do stuff like that, I probably just call the police automatically. Like, don't even warn them, just call the police. Because again, it's like, why do you need to risk? And I just need you to understand, like, you have to think about the worst case scenario sometimes. When these kids come off the street, you know what they're bringing with them, what they have on them. One of these kids can realistically just pull out a gun and just shoot the other one, like just right there. And if you get involved physically, you are making yourself a higher risk target for one of them to try to retaliate against. So if it were me working at one of those places and I saw something like that happen there, I would just call the police. Let them sit there and do their little crazy crap, because it's not going to go on for that long, most likely. And if they want to run out of there, that's fine. We have you recorded. We have you on video. We know what you look like. I wouldn't even bother trying to break it up. Just automatically call the police. The second you start seeing them hitting on each other, just call the police. I'm very serious. Don't even bother engaging. Like I've always advocated. You say, "Yep, that's what I would do." But think about it. Like you get where there's also the internal fear of like, okay, I understand they're trying to break it up so they can like get back to business as usual, and maybe they've seen this one or two times before. Right? I haven't seen it before. Somewhere I've worked, but maybe they've had this. So maybe like they think it's just like a whatever thing, but you understand there is the realistic concern in the United Guns of America that one of these kids might have a weapon on them. And if you get involved physically in trying to stop their conflict or their feud or their beef or whatever you want to call it, they can take that weapon that they may or may not have and use it on you. And they most likely would not have used it on you if you didn't bother trying to get involved with stopping their, you know, conflict. The last fast food company I worked for told us to do this because they didn't want to run the risk of any of their employees getting into legal trouble. Yeah, like you got to also remember that when once you put your hands on someone, they can say, "He touched me. He hit me. He grabbed me. He did." I mean, seriously, that's a very realistic concern for you as in all likelihood not we're adults but like in all likelihood most employees of any business are adults and once you put your hands on them anything could happen if they don't retaliate physically they can retaliate legally they can have their little daddy or mommy come in there and go oh this is the mean employee that was grabbing on me that was trying to touch me. That's what they do. That's one of the biggest frustrations I have with these modern minors. They do this thing where when they're with their friends, when they're talking to their buddies, right? They're strong, they're tough, they're cussing, and you know, I'll pop you, I'll whatever. But then when an actual adult either puts them in their place or they decide they don't like you, here it comes. Here's the defenseless, scared little minor, performance. Oh, I'm just a po. You see, like the same girl that will tell her friends that she'll beat them up will be like, I'm just a little minor, and this man came up to me and said hi. I'm just a little minor, and this man tried to grab on me when I was beating up my friend at his job. I'm serious. They do this weird, stupid stuff, and some gullible, dummy adults actually believe it. I just realized you probably weren't here for the mixed signals Queen saga, but just say like I've literally never been so happy to no longer work with somebody. It felt nice to see her get the boot. Mm. Ugh. People try to get you fired, right, from your job. Well, karma has a funny way of working things out. Yeah, teenagers are manipulative little blanks. That's why we as adults have to be hands off when dealing with them because it's not our job to raise someone else's. Man, I'm gonna now Akatsuki merchant. I want to know, and if you don't do this, I won't use it. Do I have permission to use that phrase that you just put there? Like outside of this stream, do I have permission to just refer to people's kids as their CDs? Oh man. Dude, imagine if you were a parent and you had let's say you had a son and your son is maybe like 5 years old, 10 years old. And when he goes in public places where people can see him, he's respectful to adults. When he goes to school, he studies. and you reward him every weekend by going to the zoo or a park or playing some video games. In that case, you wouldn't refer to your son as a CD. You would refer to your son as the best that he can be. But see, a lot of these kids, they don't have parents that push them to be anything more than just like they go to school because they have to, right? When they go home, they're probably like on their phone or on social media with a bunch of horrible influences. Um, but there's really like no actual desire to be more than what you are. It's really sad. I swear, with the way these kids act, you'd think they were a demon, crudely wearing the skin of a human teenager. I mean, hey, I'm never surprised by just the animosity and cruelty and just despicable actions of a lot of these kids. I even mentioned that like I've been so disturbed by some of the girls that work at my job because these are, when I say girls, I'm saying some of them are as young as 17, 18, 19, you know, um, and they will have no problem trying to destroy a male that works with them for even the slightest offense. If you look at them a certain way, if you say something that they can like twist to mean that it was whatever they want to call it, um, they have no problem trying to destroy you. And that is that's just not a human thing. I've had people say things to me at jobs that I have not liked, things that I thought were directly insulting, but I've truly never tried to get anyone I've worked with fired before. Um, even, the ones that I don't like that much, I'm not going to go, oh, this person said, why are you wearing this? And it made me uncomfortable. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, man. Just, there are more important things in the world than like being offended and annoyed and irritated by every single perceived slight. But these chicks, they don't have a problem trying to destroy somebody over that. And I was actually telling you that with this coworker thing, just to mention her really briefly, because I want to make a grander point here. So, like, this is someone who, again, tried to get me fired. And then eventually she ended up getting fired. I believe it was like 2 weeks now. Yeah, at the end of September, because all of her tardies and absences just kept piling up, just adding up, right? And I was thinking about it and I said, what has been consistent for me, even back when I used to have a safety net of like people who actually cared about me, right? Like, so I didn't have to have a job to just like be able to get basic things like food, right? Um, what has always been a consistent thing I've done is come to work on time. If I don't come to work on time, I'm not coming at all. It's just it has I've only ever out of all the jobs I've ever had, I have only ever been late to any of them one time. And that was the first day at the one that is 2 hours away or, an hour away because I underestimated the traffic. I was late by like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. Never happened again. But with this girl, it's like here's somebody that that lives close to the job, has a car, knows when her hours are, has no excuse to be late over and over. And I said that the true problem is that a lot of these young kids, whether they're male or female, they see their jobs as like a damn joke. Like, oh, I'll work here and maybe I'll come in today, maybe I won't come in tomorrow, whatever. And it doesn't bother them to possibly end up getting fired. Like for me, it is do or die. If you get fired, you have no way of having income, and then all the things you have to pay are going to keep being things you have to pay. and then eventually you're going to have no damn money, and then you won't be able to get food, and then you'll die or be kicked out of your place, or whichever one comes sooner. But for these stupid kids who rely on mommy and daddy to just take care of everything, there is no desire not only to take their own job seriously, but to take the job of another person seriously. That's why they have no problem trying to just get somebody fired over, oh, he said this to me, or he smiled at me, or he said hello to me, because these heartless, demonic bastards really, and it's usually girls, let's call it what it is, because they can spin anything, really do believe the life of another human being is just like nothing. Oh, well, oh, you don't have a job anymore? Too bad. Not my problem. Oh, well. Just psychotic. Like, makes you sick to your stomach. That's why I said anyone that tries to get somebody fired for like any of the stupid stuff we've described here, if they could never get hired somewhere again, that would be too good for them. Stuff just makes you just want to vomit, man. That's why I didn't even pay attention to my female coworkers. LO, there the exact same way, and all the male coworkers I've caught on. Now these harpies are whining, but we don't pay attention to them. I wouldn't either. Seriously, the biggest mistake I've ever made at any job was trying to be friends with a woman I worked with. Never again. The only way you could get me to seriously get invested in working with some in like trying to be friends with some girl for one of my jobs is if she was moving heaven and earth, if she for like weeks and months was just constantly trying to like, hey, want to go hang out, want to go do this, want to go, but I don't think that'll happen. um I'm not letting another one of them try to like push me off a bridge. They're delusional and think we're supposed to be friends with them. Well, for me, this is something I talked about with Megumi. I said the problem for me with a lot of these like modern friendships is that people use that word, and sometimes they even do things that kind of like lean you in the direction of thinking they want to be friends with you. But then if you actually peel back the curtain and start to unravel it, and you're like, okay, what do we do that is akin to something that friends would do, right? Like, do we hang out? Do we have anything to do with each other outside? And man, I'm not kidding. Some of the people I work with, they're either like really good actors, like they're saying something they don't believe, or they're just like fully delusional. I have guys at that job, and even like there was a chick at one point that said something like, "Oh, we're friends." I'm like, "No, we're not. We don't. We literally do not talk outside of when we're clocked in. That's not what friends do." Like even back when I was in school, kids who I actually thought were my friends, I had their phone numbers. I went over their house. I didn't just, hey, friend, I only ever see when I'm at school or talk to when I'm like, just weird stuff, man. Delusional. Again, just like that Randy Orton song, I hear voices in my head. That's what they hear. Friends. We're friends. If I never hear that word again, it'll be too soon. Friends. Friends. I'm your friend. They talk to me. They understand. Just like the girl, you ask her to go see a movie with you. We're going as friends, right? It's like, why would you think I wanted to go on a date with you? I hear voices in my head. They talk to me, they understand. It's just total delusion, man. Who in their right mind is like, oh, if somebody wants to go see a movie with me, we are now automatically a couple. It's like, no. I'll tell you, people just, they don't even care. They just say whatever. They believe whatever. Okay. I'm trying to get a good angle for this. Scoot up a little bit. Because, like, I want to lean back because it hurts my back a little bit to just, think like this stream's so boring. He's just playing with his chair. I'm trying to get an angle that is like okay for the camera, but then also like not horrible for my back either. Oh, and I keep forgetting which button because there's two of them to push it forward, right, like this. There we go. Scoot up a little bit. This isn't a Pixar movie. Well, you know, for me, it's just a matter of like, you have such a basic request because I had two guys I did things with, you know, hung out with, whatever, outside, like off campus, not campus, off, like outside of the premises of working there. So I was like, okay, well, you know, this girl I get along speaking to her, whatever. And man, she dropped the ball. She screwed the pooch. I mean, I never in a million years thought I could have someone stand me up at the last minute and then like get mad at me for them doing that. That didn't make any damn sense. Twilight Zone confirmed. Oh, and of course, my favorite part: giving somebody your phone number and then telling them they can't call you. Like, okay, what the hell's the point of the phone number? And then you won't even like barely respond to text messages. Akatsuki merchant, here is my phone number. Oh, I can't wait to text you. I'm not very good at texting. Okay, can I call you? I don't do calls. I don't do calls. I don't do calls. I don't do calls. Man, when I heard that, from now on, anytime, and I'm very serious when I say this, if I meet another woman, online, real life, doesn't matter, and she tells me that I cannot call her, automatically, we're not speaking anymore. That's it. I mean, it makes no sense to me to give someone your number and then they can't call you like that. That still is like, what is, like, huh? I just blocked their number after that. LOL, these types of people act like phone numbers are sacred. I show them otherwise. Yeah. I wouldn't block the number because I don't think they would actually look. She's not going to try to contact me. She hasn't tried to contact me. I mean, she couldn't anyway because I have a new number. But still, it's like I'm not. I'm done with dealing with them. They're gonna say and do stuff as stupid as that. You gotta let them wallow in their own filth. I am so important that you can have my number, but can never use it to actually do anything to speak to me with. Brilliant. I keep reminding myself, I brushed my teeth an hour ago. I was like, why does this taste so weird? Damn toothpaste. Um, mm. You missed a hell of a saga, man. That thing with that broad was driving me crazy. I I really hope nothing like I don't think anything like that will ever happen again because ever since it did, I have been keeping every one of these chicks I work with on a damn leash. I won't even look at some of them. Serious. One of them really like just ruined the well for the rest of them. I was like, man, you think I'm stupid enough to let more than one of you guys get away with that? The first time is always the opportunity to have redemption to just like make sure it doesn't occur again. And I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. I spoke to her here and there for like a few months. I'd have to speak to some broad for like a whole year before I even wanted to even think of like, hey, maybe I can call you or send you to. And even that would like I've been slowly kind of getting a little bit more comfortable with it. Had one I sent some messages to, whatever, like 2 days last week. But since then, that was back in February. I have not even entertained the idea of asking another one, "Hey, you want to go do something together?" But mm-mm, no more poison. That part that era is gone. Oh, Akatsuki merch, and I forgot I got a copy of your favorite book by your favorite lady. Make sure that when you get back home, you go through and read it for the fifth time. One of your favorite people in the whole world has written a book, and we want to make sure you get a chance to tell us what you thought of it. Your opinion matters to me. So my favorite thing relating to this book is it's not even like the book itself because I've only I think read the first two chapters when you get to the section where she starts talking about her mom and dad. But my favorite thing relating to it is the whole the CNN interview. Hey CNN, you want to interview the former first lady? Oh yeah, sure. That'll be $250,000. God, it's like imagine. And I don't even care who it is. Like, there's no person that should be able to get $200,000 or 250,000 just to sit in the chair and be like, "Oh yes, me and my husband like it's just oh whatever." It reminds me of Mark Hamill and his autograph prices or picture prices. Everybody else is like $90 or 40 or 50 or 60. He wants 300 acting like your guy. I would never in a million years pay any like singular person that much to take a photo with them. Hey, Akatsuki merchant, want to picture one of your favorite streamers? That'll be almost $1,000. Just nuts, man. Oh yeah, we haven't even been able to talk about the waste of time sequel. I'm not going to do a video on her because she's, whatever, a little 2 days skerfuffle. It actually is kind of like a running theme now where some of these chicks will sit in private calls with me and then like a day later block me. Like that happened with the one that had the PowerPoint about her stupid boyfriend upsetting her, and same thing happened here. I mean, here you have this girl who is like apoplectic about doing a VC, and I'm like, you say that you like talking to me, so how about we just have a call? I mean, if you like speaking to me when we were in that group VC, why not do it one on one? What's the big deal? And she agrees to it, and she's playing her little stupid game, whatever. Um, but at the end of it, she's like, "Oh, I don't want to do this anymore, and I have this condition, and you know, um, if you're not playing a game with me, then I can't focus on you and the game, and most of the stuff I play has it." And I'm just like, "Man, this is so stupid. You really want me to believe I need to buy a whole damn console and these crappy games just to talk to you?" J- j- just to talk to you? I mean, it's got to be some kind of joke. But at the end of it, I was like, fine, if you want to do this anymore, we'll have to. And then she said, okay, I'll contact you later. I'll send you a message later or something like that. And then lo and behold, that later that same day, I found out she blocked me. It's just so funny because it's like you don't even have to say anything. You can just, I'm whatever. No, I'm good, LOL. If I want a picture with the streamer, I'll just Photoshop myself over a photo of them. Oh, no, not just a streamer. I mean, actors are they're trying to squeeze out a few hundreds for photos with them too. Seriously, last year, I don't remember which convention, like where I think it was in San Francisco. Not entirely sure, but it was I just remember it was somewhere I could have gone, so it might have been either in California or Nevada. And it was like every actor wanted about anywhere from 80 to $110 for a photo with them, right? Like a one of those HD camera photos where they take you in a room and you smile with them and pose, all the rest of that crap, right? It was Mark Hamill, and it was the Star Trek person, William Shatner. William Shatner, who both wanted 300 or more dollars to take a picture with them. I took the screenshot of Hamill's. It was like 400 or something. I can go dig up the stream where I showed the picture of. But I was like, God damn, who has the money for this? Like, forget rent this month. Forget, dude. Like, I've had to explain before. $300 is enough for me to eat for at least 2 full months, if not even longer than that. I mean, $300 is at least a full month worth of gas. Possibly even 2 full months if I find a way to like stretch. It's nuts, man. It really shows how people don't want their games to be fun anymore. They just want mindless content to waste their time on. I mean, for me, I just couldn't believe that I was actually having a human being tell me, I will basically only speak to you if you play these stupid games. Because remember, I told you that like there is something in people that is decaying. Like there's a lot of people have this idea that because men are more likely to be on in these servers and online trolling or whatever the hell, that like we're the ones who are the most messed up. But there are a lot of just humans who even if they have like a romantic partner, even if they whatever they have a job, there's something inside them that is sick. And it's not a because, oh, this person doesn't like you. It's like, again, you look at the trajectory of this. Here's a guy I'm going to send a friend request to. I'm going to talk to him like I'm really interested for like a day, right? And then we have a VC where, I admit he's nice to me, he's pleasant, whatever. But now I don't want to do it anymore because whatever. And then he consents to this, right? Even though he doesn't really like it, but he consents to it. He agrees to go along with what I want, and I block him. It's like, again, like the trajectory there doesn't add up to me. Like that's weird. That's not a normal thing to do. And the problem is we live in this hyper feminist era where all the crazy weird stuff that chicks do, as long as that lovely, oh so terrific triangles associated with them, it gets defended, it gets excused. You must have done something wrong because it's always the man's fault. So again, I could make a video on her, but I just don't feel like it. There are so many weird women on Discord, man. You'd have to make a whole damn series to cover even like 1% of them. I'm not even kidding. I almost want to, like, as a social experiment, just make like if I see one of them online, right? In the most casual way, like in the most subtle way, ask for a call, like, hey, you doing anything tomorrow? Doing anything in 2 days, 3 days? Well, I'm not doing anything either. Maybe we could speak. I haven't heard your voice in so long. I'm sorry, but if a video game requires you to meet 3,000 different prerequisites and look up guides online, that's a major turnoff for me. Megumi, imagine if he was here, I'd be like, he wants to speak to Akatsuki merchant, but only if he plays these multiplayer online games. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go on like a dating website, which they're all crap, by the way. But like, I'm gonna go on a dating website, or even not even that. Like, I'm gonna go on just any social media site and be like, listen, I'll only talk to you if you play World of Warcraft, DC Universe Online. What was the other game? Dragon Ball Online when that used to be a thing. That's crazy. That's really, really crazy. People are nuts. Live service games are killing the game industry because of all of those types of games are inherently predatory and manipulative. I didn't even get to ask if you played Spark and Zero yet. Unfortunately, I haven't had a PC since last year, so I haven't been able to play it. I'm gonna have to buy a whole new computer, and with all the stuff I have to pay for, that's gonna take like another 7, 8, 9, 10 months of working. I just think how crazy that is. I could work 3, 4 times a week for the rest of the year, all of next year, and I wouldn't even have enough money I could just like save and have on hand to go out and buy a PC to play some games that most of which I already own. Because I would just keep thinking like, oh man, am I gonna have to get a new tire? Am I gonna have to get? I'm telling you, when you don't have any support, you just like we'll get back to our thing in a second, but I've always tried to explain one of the reasons a person may not feel like living anymore, may get depressed, is that when you have a crappy environment, it just like really recedes any desire to want to live longer. Where it's like, okay, I don't have enough money for my job that won't hire me full time, and it likes to cut my hours so I don't have to pay people more money. I can't get a second job to make up for that lack of stability because the one I already have fluctuates its hours so much that I couldn't give another employer a set amount of time I'd be available per week. I barely get to see any of my relatives, including the ones I do like, and half of the ones I liked are deceased. Uh, you don't get any advancement with regard to romantic relationships to where now, even if you meet someone that claims they like you, they don't want to do any of the things you actually want to do with them. So it's like, what's even the point? Or they live so damn far away that you wouldn't be able to engage in anything other than just more worthless talk which you've heard for years, so you're desensitized to it. I'm just saying, like, all that stuff just starts like piling on you, it's where you just get sick of it. You're like, man, I don't even care anymore about trying to, you know, be alive. I played like 10 minutes on my friend's console. It's fine, not bad, just fine. Feels like a rehash of the Budokai series of games. Yeah, I'm in no rush to play it because I didn't really think the roster was that great. Anytime you make a game that is supposedly a sequel to something and you have to cut characters, I just start rolling my eyes. The game is too goddamn bright and flashy. That's my only complaint. Well, you know what my complaint is? That roster is in. How the hell are you going to make a game with GT characters and then cut out one of the main villains in GT? Imagine me making a Dragon Ball Z game, and it's like you have Frieza, you have Boo, and you're like, okay, where's Cell? Like it's just it's weird. It's weird. Akatsuki Merchant, where is Cell? I'll tell you, I really I have an issue when basic characters are no longer playable. It's like making a drag. No, I wouldn't go that far. Again, my argument is that it's not normal. Like if you look at most Dragon Ball fighting games that have GT characters in them, usually there's a set number of characters that are like always playable. Like going back to the Budokai series, it actually, let me put it like this. At least since the Budokai Tenkaichi 3, it has consistently been the case that Kid Goku, Pan, Omega Shenron Baby, Super 17, and the Super Saiyan 4s are playable. That little group of 5 to 9 characters has always been playable for at least the last 10 years, any game that has some GT characters in it besides fighters. So to have one of the main villains of that series not be playable really makes no damn sense. It's usually the main Z fighters that are default playable. Right, but I'm saying I think it's really crazy to adapt GT and not have one of its most basic characters associated with the series who has been playable in most other games over the last 10 years with characters from GT in it, uh, just like not around. Like, I just don't think that makes any sense. Oh well, I guess I'll just fire up my old copy of Budokai Tenkaichi 3, so whatever. I'll just open up that game again. If I want to play a Super 17. And of course, we can't get over the fact that they cut out all the Dragon Ball characters. Oh man. So these rosters just get worse and worse. I remember when Fighters first came out, and I was saying the roster of that game was crappy, and then all the fans of the game were like mad at me, and oh, you like games where characters all play the same, and then they knew their roster was bad, and that's why they rushed out 20 more characters in like the first year or two of it being out. So instead of just waiting 2 more years to put out a game with 40 something characters, they were like, all right, let's put out this game now with only 18 or 17 or whatever the hell. These rosters, man, they don't know what they're doing. But yeah, it's a fun game with very fun mechanics. I just can't stand how obnoxiously bright and flashy it is. Not worth the hype. It's definitely worth playing. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, and hopefully, at some point before 2001 million, I can play the game. Make it in the new PC eventually, someday. Someday. Man, I remember when I first heard about this game, I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna have more characters, and like we'll be able to like actually get like Kid Krillin and um who else from the original series was like, and maybe finally an adult version of Chi Chi." Nope, more stuff from Super, the series that was so popular and beloved. Hmm. Yeah, I don't. I think it's gonna be very. It's gonna be a while before I can play any of this stuff. Unfortunately, I physically cringe when anyone mentions Super. Well, that's the main focus of the game besides Z, unfortunately. Um, so you can cringe all you want, but that's what they seem to be throwing content toward. I was just thinking of like how they cut Fasha and Sangya. I'm forgetting that's how her name is pronounced. Bojack's henchwoman. And I'm like, how crazy is that you cut them, but then you add in Coquette, who I literally don't even remember anything she said in Super. Like just in terms of power, I just remember her as like background noise. Like she's playable, but then Again, like characters from BT3 that could have fit the same criteria. Just like you're not like, nah, forget them. That's the part that doesn't make any sense to me. Hmm. So you can cringe all you want, but you still ended up liking the game. It still satisfied you. It still had you sitting up at 3 in the morning going, "Where have you been all my life?" You're like, "Yay, more content from Super. Yippee." People get mad at me for saying this, but the more I look at that game, I just would rather go play Xenoverse 2. I don't know. I just kind of hate what Dragon Ball as a series has become. Well, all I can tell you is that when they start getting stupid, I start disappearing. That's why I stopped reading the manga after the Moro arc, which let me down a lot of areas that I thought were just too unforgivable. And they had that new cartoon come out. I didn't even bother watching it because I just wasn't interested to see characters get turned into kids for no reason. I did have one person who told me that its first episode is just like a recap of the Boo saga, so it's like, what the hell is even the point? Like, what are you guys getting so excited for? It's more stuff we've already seen. But I'm just saying, I've had my issues with how things have gone as well, but that's why I don't engage with it anymore. I feel like the only way to get them to change is to just show them that you're not going to put up with any old crap. Mm. This one person was talking about how with a lot of arcs, I'm always just wondering if you like change a few things, but I'd like it so much more. Oh man. I don't even normally try to, portray myself as being that tired. I think it's just because of the whole thing with that one day of like going to sleep. Like this is around the time I went to sleep yesterday, so I guess that factors in. But now I'm trying to stay up because I don't want Kotsky Merchant to feel like he's been abandoned and people have ignored him. And when he comes to streams, they want to start talking about how tired they are. I don't want him to get that impression of me. I don't know how I would live with myself if he had a low opinion of me. I don't want a Kotsky Merchant to look on me with disgust and betrayal. Mm. I stopped reading the manga after the Granola arc. Actual, well, for me, Moro was the last straw because it was like you had this villain who I thought had an interesting premise, and You give Vegeta this arc where he's kind of like on his own, trying to get some training and be his own like separate entity. And I thought it was going to culminate in him finally defeating the main antagonist of an arc because they had him like separated from the rest of the group. They had him show up as like the last possible person that could beat Moro, and then it all just went to crap. Like it's nothing but missed opportunity after missed opportunity. You have a villain who at the same time as he's using the Dragon Balls to let out his bunch of goons, he's also saying that he doesn't care about them. They're nothing to him. It's like they're nothing to you. Why did you go to these lengths of trying to get them released from jail? It's stupid. So yeah, that's why I said I feel bad for anyone that actually got invested in that crappy manga because I just once that arc was finished coming out, I just couldn't take it anymore. It's forced drama for the sake of just finding these terrible one-sided fights. I remember when they brought up Bardock and people were getting so excited. Oh man, Goku's dead. I said before, I would be so like if they did a Dragon Ball spin-off manga that just explored different stuff, like an anthology book, or even just like a prequel about the Saiyans before they were blown up. I would be interested in it. Because you have to imagine that like all the planets they conquered and stuff they did for Frieza, there's got to be some stories to tell with that. And then, of course, let's not forget the best part of the Granola arc when Frieza showed up to get the win over the actual protagonist with his new stupid, ugly, bland, lame, poorly designed form. I said, man, I always think about how in Dragon Ball, like, the original manga, Frieza had these four forms. And whatever you thought about their designs, they all were distinct, they all were unique. They were so unique that you could take away all the colors and just you could have the silhouettes and be able to tell which form was which form. And then you look at his gold form and it's just a crappy recolor. And then you look at his black form and it's just a crappy recolor. I mean, why do they do this? Like, who is sitting there and is like, yeah, I want more Frieza transformations where all they do is change the damn color because they're trying to sell toys. This way they can just change the colors to have like three versions of the same damn character. It's lame. Yeah, Black Frieza. When I saw Black Frieza, I blacked out on reading any more of that manga. I think I read the first like two or three chapters of Superhero where it was like Goten and Trunks doing stuff, which I thought was kind of cool because they never do anything with them at all after the Buu saga. Um, but man, it went right back to just being aggravation. In fact, a lot of anime fights nowadays are so one-sided, but people like them because they're cold and flashy. They're cool and flashy. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is just spectacle. I mean, people, whoever reason, they're just not interested in having a good story. Mm. They just want to sit there and look at things and kind of like, ooh, that's shiny. It's really sad. But yeah, it's not surprising because we just fans have not been expected to really internalize stuff and think about it in a critical way and like actually, just want a good story. Like when Super came out, a lot of people were just excited for more Dragon Ball, and then when I see how lousy it is, it really made me appreciate the older stuff more, but also just think to myself like, man, what a total missed opportunity. And that's I guess I'm just feeling more and more like a lot of the stuff that's coming out now. If you just tweaked it a little bit, if you just took your time with it more, you probably could get something that's really good, or at least of some quality. But they're just not willing to do that. It's really sad. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just debating what I'm gonna eat. I'll probably I don't know. I'm a little dumbfounded here. Uh, which button did I hit? Wrong one. Still gotta figure this thing out all the way. There we go. We really turned this into a whole, I guess, segment on anime. I mean, I would do more Dragon Ball videos if people actually watched them, but I just haven't really felt the motivation. Yeah, we didn't even get to talk about Ethel. That's so sad. That lady spent the last year of her life watching watching her son, who was named after her husband, who was killed over 50 years ago, uh, launch this weird presidential campaign that polled high at certain points just for him to drop out months before the actual election took place. It's what a way to go. A fight between characters in a story should be more than just a brawl for the sake of spectacle. Well, like I said, fans incentivize this stuff. They don't really seem to be that bothered by it. It's unfortunate. But it's not all that surprising. Oh, I feel like the sun is coming out earlier than it normally does. Like the sky outside is just lighter than it usually is. Maybe I'm just seeing things. Should be another at least hour of just no daylight. But it feels nice to have all the stuff I need for the weekend. So the only task I'll have for the next for tomorrow is just getting a better parking spot. And I'm sure some of these people are going to leave by the middle part of the day, so that shouldn't be too difficult. Oh wow. Looks like I caught the stream. The title really speaks exactly how I feel whenever I try to tell someone I especially someone in real life, especially older generation, about this constant stagnation with modern chicks. Oh, they'll never understand. Oh yeah, you didn't get to see this. I was mentioning that there was this. I was at McDonald's yesterday, and I go in there every. If I get there early enough, I usually go there to just charge my phone and like type stuff on the computer because I don't have like a desk here, so that's really the only time I get to just sit somewhere and type something. And all of a sudden, these guys, these high schoolers, because there's a lot of like I guess middle schools and high schools around there, they come in the building. It's like two of them, and then there's a little group of three. They're sitting somewhere else, and they just start wailing on each other to where there's like three different McDonald's employees that have to like break it up and tell them to get out of here and call the police. And I was explaining to a Kotsky merchant that I could never imagine working somewhere like that, having that happen, and not just instantly calling the cops because a lot of these younger a lot of these like adolescents are so devious that they will do something like that in a public setting, and when the employees try to get them to stop, they can turn around and go, oh well, he hit me or she touched me or whatever, like play victim, like even though they only were touched because they're doing something that is disturbing the other customers. It was crazy. And man, those police, they sat up there for a while. A mini brawl at the restaurant amongst youngsters, pretty typical. Well, I guess it's that way for the employees, but I've never seen it. I've been to that same McDonald's about a dozen times or so. And the only other instance where I've seen the police get called was when this one guy was like playing in the children's playpen, this boy. And I don't know if it was a parent or somebody else was like, the police will be here in 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. And I don't think anything like came out of it. Like I think they just left and that was it. But I said you have to be really stupid to go into a public place and assault someone because it's on video. They know what you look like, even if you leave from there. And because the place is somewhere you walk to, it's probably not that far from your home or from wherever you go to school. So going back there is basically out of the question now. It's really dumb on their part. Oh man. Oh, you'll love this. My job has a new scam. They have a new trick they like to play. So if you, I'm just gonna give you an example to like illustrate my point. Lagumi, let's say I have you on our website, your schedule, right? And it says you're working Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you're like, all right, I've got 4 days to work. Terrific. So on Monday, when you're working, let's say your shifts are all like 5 hours, right? So it's like 20 hours. I'm like, hey, Megumi, you want to stay longer and get some overtime or whatever there? And you're like, okay, sure. And then I have you there for like 7, 8 hours. Like, oh man, this is great. This is terrific, right? Because you're thinking this is like adding to your pile, right? But then you go on that same app that has your 4 work days, and because you worked slightly overtime on Monday, I cut you for Wednesday or Tuesday, whichever middle was the second of the 4 days. So do you see how even you like you were incentivized to stay there longer that day under the illusion that you were making more money when in fact you actually weren't. That's what my job does. There was a day about 2 weeks ago where I think I mentioned this on a stream. One of the managers asked me to stay till 11:30, even though I came at 3 o'clock. The other one didn't know I had been there that long, so he asked me to stay until I finished cleaning something. And I was like, "Oh man, this is like 9 hours in one day, damn near." And I was like, "Oh, this is great, right? Almost basically like 2 days of work in one day." And I looked on that schedule and they deleted me. I was like, "Okay, you know what? That's it. They have asked me if I could stay longer uh 2 times over the last like week and a half. Both instances I've said no. And man, yesterday they damn near were begging. I mean, look, I'm not even trying to like toot my own horn. They don't like doing the work I do. Like their other employees don't like doing it. That's why I've been like so secure because it's like the thing that people kept quitting over, like cleaning all these dishes or whatever. And man, first one of the managers asked me, I said no. Then the other manager's like, "Come on, why don't you want to close? You know, you love closing." And I'm like, "No." And then one of the guys who works here was like, "Oh, come on, get some of that extra money." I was like, "I got some of their extra scam." And then one of the other employees came back to me, he was like, "Hey, how come you won't close? You know, you're almost done with it." It was, man, you could tell how desperate they were. And I gotta tell you, it feels real nice to have some power, like they know they can't keep me there longer than the time that was written on the schedule. If they say you're here from 5 to 10:30, any extensions have to be approved by yours truly. So it feels real good for them to, "Oh, can you stay here?" Nope, nope, no, 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 no. Hear what you wrote. Yeah, I do recall you mentioning this on a previous stream. Extremely scummy, getting punished for volunteering to do overtime. Well, yeah, because it's like, what's the point of doing overtime if you're actually not doing overtime? Like, if you're gonna work, I think I gave you the example of how many moons ago, this is like months ago, I used to do those work weekend streams. I don't know if you remember those. And the idea of those was that I worked Saturday and Sunday, right? The whole weekend. There was once, and I've told them the one day I want to work normally is Saturday because I want this one day to rest, this one day to just kind of like, relax. I don't care if you guys want to take every other damn day, but just give me that one day to cool off and whatever. And they had the nerve to approve me to work on Saturday. So I was like, oh great, I'm gonna work the whole weekend, get double the money, right? I work Saturday, I get home, I look on the schedule, and they delete me from Sunday. And I'm like, it literally is take one step forward, one step back. So what exactly was the point of working on Saturday? Getting punished for volunteering to do overtime. That's what you do. You. I guess we have to quote your favorite superhero movie from the last 3 years. Magumi, Magumi, Magumi. No good deed goes unpunished. You can thank me later. That's that's them. Like you go in there thinking that you're gonna make some more money. Oh, great, right? Nope. I said to hell with them. Like from now on, anytime it says in the schedule you're here from this time to that time, that's going to be it. This whole thing of me groveling to get an extra $10 or $20 or $30, man, the hell with that. I'm tired of not being appreciated. I'm tired of them trying to cut hours from me. And this actually goes back to something I was trying to say. So like you probably didn't see the tire video, but I was explaining what happened a few days ago just with my tire not exploding, but just doing something similar that happened back in August. And I was saying that what's really horrible about the job is that since they raised wages, they've cut hours. So because they don't want to pay people more money. So they had me coming in at 8 p.m. for a shift that ended at not even like 1 in the morning. And I was saying that this is so lame of them because if they gave me a full 8 hour shift that started like, let's say 5, right? I leave 2 hours early. So I could have left at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Had this happened, been towed to a tire place and then still had enough time to get to work because I was almost there when that thing busted on me. I was like 5 miles away, it was so close. But that's what happens when you want to pay people more money. By the way, Megumi, I want to ask you. So with that discount thing, and I told you that like I don't eat from there anymore after they did that, right? Where they try to charge me 17 after it was 11, and then they act like they're doing you a favor. Do you see where they cut their nose to spite their face? Where basically they did something for the purpose of harming someone else, but it like comes back to harm them. Where because they raised it or tried to raise it to something that I just thought was completely ridiculous. Um, in an effort to get more money, right? The greed, their greed made it to where they like get nothing. Like if they kept it at just 11 for the like two of something, right? Then I would still get it. But like because they want to be greedy and want even more damn money, I'm like, okay, goodbye. He said that's what they get. I'm serious. I have not ordered from there since August 22nd. That is about five. That's got to be at least 5 weeks, almost 6 weeks. Their history. I'm never. I could work at that place for a whole additional year, and you won't see me buy anything from them ever again. Way too overcome by greed. They cut their nose to spite their face. By the way, I was gonna because like I literally can't do any stuff with this anymore thanks to YouTube's weird little God, this like gets on my nerves sometimes. So like with anything Pokemon related, YouTube will just turn the comments off automatically. I think you might be able to play some of the games without having that happen. I'm not entirely sure. Um, but like people will put up clips, the comments get turned off. It's ridiculous. But I was going to tell you that this was I was thinking of maybe do again. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do this, but like just doing a video talking about like why I don't tend to evolve the Pokemon I use in games. And I was mentioning how, as someone who has played a lot of these games time and time again, kind of like knows the ins and outs. You got to be this level to beat this gym and use this. And I kind of I kind of look for more than just the hollow victory of whatever. Like I actually want to have a little bit of a challenge. So like for me it's a lot more rewarding to beat the league with the ones I like the most who are not evolved than with a whole team of evolved of like final form starters. Just like I don't that's not fun for me. And I always remember when I was playing this is back when I like still had the consoles a long time ago. Uh, I always remember I played. I think it was either Heart Gold or Soul Silver, one of those. And I remember the team I had was the exact same one that Ash had during the fourth season of the anime. It was Pikachu, it was Bayleaf, Bulbasaur, Cyndaquil, Totodile, and I think Noctowl. And I got all the way to Lance, and I just could not beat him. I kept trying all those stupid dragons. So, in a final act of desperation, I evolved Totodile to Feraligatr, and then I won. And I felt bad. I was like, man, I got all the way to what is basically supposed final boss, at least of the first half of the game, and I just became too overwhelmed and wanted to rush a victory. I just felt like I had like been backed into a corner and didn't you know win it the way I would like to win it. Like just felt hollow. YouTube's gonna turn the comments off. I shouldn't have mentioned it. They're gonna be like, Goodbye." This is my job. It's my job to like test them, and all the blood like squirts on their face. Like, you will pay this amount for this, and then you're not buying anything from here anymore. That reminds me of people often saying Pokemon is an easy game, but usually these are the same people who constantly evolve the Pokemon over level them at any chance they get. I do tend to over level, but that again is like mostly with like first form Pokemon. Like I'll give you an example. If I play through again examples like Yellow, right? That's the one where you start with Pikachu, all the starters. Only starter I evolve. I think you know which one it is. It's the most iconic one. It's the one that arguably is the most popular Pokemon in all of America. Everybody loves it and its tail and its wings. That's the only one I evolve. All the other two stay first form, and the only other fully evolved Pokemon I use throughout that whole game is probably like Pidgeot, and that's it. Like it will be throughout the whole game. Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charizard, Squirtle, Pidgeot, and then Snorlax, or some other sixth one that might change here or there. If I'm playing through Gold or Silver or Crystal, pretty similar dynamic, right? You'll have, and I one of the things I like to do is like have. You can call me like this big anime fanboy. I do like to have teams that are kind of similar to Ash a lot of the time, whatever. Um, but like if I'm playing through just a generic Johto run, unless I have some specific team in mind, it'll be Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Charizard, Squirtle, Bayleaf, and then again some random sixth one. It might be Cyndaquil if I'm feeling extra challenging or whatever. It might be Tyranitar. Again, it's like that sixth spot will be here or there, but it'll mostly be a team of half unevolved, half evolved. You know, just kind of like balance things a little bit. Even when I was playing through, like, Hoenn is the region where all the starters tend to evolve. I was playing through Emerald. I only evolved Trico to Grovyle and Torchic to like the second form Combuskin, and then Mudkip still like first form, because I don't want the game to get so easy. That's pretty cool. I used to have a team in Diamond to reflect Paul, and I even tried doing Tobias too, but we never actually know his other four Pokemon. Yeah, just assume they're all legendaries. I remember that damn team. Do you know that's like so sad that Ash gets so far in Sinnoh, and he beats his probably his best rival of any of them, just to lose to a guy with some ridiculously overpowered, insane, where the hell did this even come from team? But no, my favorite team was always the group that he had from Kanto to like the start of Johto. Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charizard. Because Charizard is both, fire and flying. So you don't need a bird. You could just use Charizard to just fly you from place to place. Like he fills two type slots. And then of course the other three are just extremely iconic. So I like using them whenever I can. I mean, one of the reasons I would play through Crystal or one of the other Johto games with Bayleaf is that it's considered the worst starter to pick in that that series. So again, it's like still trying to have a challenge. No, people don't like challenges, man. I do wish I could try Hoenn. I never got to play much of Emerald. Um, it's funny. That was one of the first games I had out of any of them, and it was the only one I never technically beat before having it as a ROM. Like as a kid, I just would get to a certain part and just be like, all right, I'm done with this. Um, and you gotta remember, Hoenn is the region where a lot of people that were there from when it started checked out. Like people look at Johto as Pokemon 2, the sequel, right? It is an expansion pack of that first game. You beat the main story of the second one. You get to play through the first one with the surprise challenge boss at the end. And Hoenn was the reboot. It was the first region where there was no backward compatibility. It was disconnected from the other two regions. When Ruby and Sapphire came out, you could only catch like I think 30, 40, 50 of the Pokemon from the past two generations. So a lot of people, when they get to it, they feel kind of like, disconnected. Like, what the hell is this? And the only main challenge people often like to do is the Nuzlocke challenge. Yeah, I know. I get sick of seeing it over and over. No, I'd be very embarrassed if I had to show Megumi what my uh, Elite Four challenge looked like, is he would see me beat them with that team of mostly unevolved starters, and then get to Lance, and then be forced to evolve Totodile, and then Megumi would write that I looked like that I had promised him I could beat the game with Ash's season 4 team, and by evolving Totodile, I looked like the biggest liar and fool in the history of the Kanto region. It's like, you told me you could win with Totodile. It's like, I tried. Not my fault. Lance has all those damn dragons. Yeah, I do it in two ways, right? I have the Kanto starters and Bayleaf in one run, and then the Johto starters in another. Because I always thought it was so funny how in the show the only Johto starter that really matters is Chikorita. Like that's the only starter out of those first 6 that he has that actually evolves. Um, I know people don't like watch the show religiously, but like with both Squirtle and Charizard, they leave to make room for Totodile and Cyndaquil. Ash has 2 grass starters on his team for, I think it's like 80, 90 episodes. Like Bulbasaur doesn't stop being on his team until like I think 5 or 6 badges into Johto, like toward the end of it. It's interesting because we've never seen anything like that with any of his teams after, where it's just 2 starters of the same type, like together, just on there for a protracted time. Like he never really has 2 Pokemon of the same type just concurrent with each other like that again. Like the only other instance I could probably think of is when he has Charizard for some portions of Unova. Doing Ash a disservice. I mean, hell, blame the writers of the show did him a disservice. That's actually a season I've never watched despite really liking the game. Well, I'm just explaining that Johto always will be unique in the context of the show as the Kanto expansion pack, where it's the only region he doesn't try to leave all of them behind except Pikachu, and it's Kanto, Orange Island, Johto. So I'm saying that for that reason, Johto always holds a special place in my heart because it's so distinct compared to a lot of what comes after, where it's just that constant starting over reboot thing. I was referring to Univo, but yeah, I know what you mean. Oh yeah, well, Univa, a lot of the fans of the show don't like. They say it's the worst season. Um, it has a couple of things I like. Ash catching all the starters again. He catches them in backwards order, and then he tries to use Pokemon of the same types for in like a rotation. Like he'll always have Pikachu and the three starters on his team, but then he'll flip the other two spots out with like 5 or 6 other Pokemon, which I did like because a lot of people always complain Ash barely catches any Pokemon. Yeah, I wasn't as into the show after Sinnoh because at that point they got rid of Brock, and I was like, okay, well, what are we doing here? Because Unova to me always felt like the true Pokemon reboot where they made 150 something new Pokemon just for Black and White, like the most of any region. To where you couldn't even in the original Black and White, if I remember correctly, you couldn't even catch anything from a past generation until the post game. Hey, don't say I did Ash a disservice. The writers of the show did him a disservice. Like, I remember there was this really old Pokemon novelization that mentioned that Ash's dad was a failure, and like his mom hypes him up to just spare her son the feelings of knowing that your dad didn't amount to anything. Um, let's not forget that Pokemon was supposed to just be one season, so it probably would have ended with Ash winning the league against Gary. Um, what's some other? Oh, and then of course the lovely GS ball where it was supposed to have Celebi, but they decided they were going to use Celebi for the fourth movie, so they just have it get sent somewhere in Johto, hoping the audience would forget about it. And then for what's some of the one movie Pokemon Heroes? He was supposed to have the Latias from that film join his team to kind of like promote Hoenn, but they didn't want him to have a legendary, so they were like, "Nah, never mind." Another one of my favorite factoids is that Pidgeot was apparently supposed to evolve way earlier from Pidgeotto, but they always wanted to hype up Charizard as his. No, really, like the writers of that show wanted one because Charizard is one of the most popular Pokemon. Period. I don't think I have to like prove that to you. So because they wanted to hype Charizard up so damn much, they would not let Pidgeot become Pidgeot until it was like it left at the end of season one. And even though they had like foreshadowing of Cyndaquil evolving during Johto, and eventually they evolved it in Sinnoh, even though it was on his team, and it was just stupid stuff. But like, even though they had like foreshadowing of Ash getting, either a Quilava or a Typhlosion. They kept it as a Cyndaquil because, again, it's like he already has the powerful full form fire starter that's like way more iconic. So they just let it sit as Cyndaquil for however many years it was. Um, yeah, the writers do him the biggest disservice of anybody. And then I remember I didn't even notice until like years later. They when the show was transitioning from Johto to Hoenn, they actually talked about keeping Misty and getting rid of Team Rocket. I don't know why they couldn't have just kept both, but whatever. Same really weird decisions. No, I was going to ask you if you like if you watch the show, it's really interesting how the Johto starters really don't have. So again, just like watching season 1, right? Pikachu is his starter. He has a bond with it, whatever. Bulbasaur is like a kind of responsible, mature sort of, not really getting into conflict. Squirtle has the Squirtle squad and it's kind of like, leadership qualities. Um, you know, Charmander has the whole arc of like disobeying Ash after evolving as, into Charmeleon and Charizard. It's interesting to note that a lot of the Pokemon that he later gets are again, with the exception of like Bayleaf, for example, and Heracross, they really are just there because he's mandated to have them to promote the new game. Like Cyndaquil has like no personality. Cyndaquil! And then, same thing with Totodile. It's interesting because it's like that's where you see the writers being kind of like I'm serious. Like when I was a kid, I loved Chikorita because of her relationship with Ash, where she had a crush on him. And again, she's the only starter that evolves out of any of the ones he catches in Johto. And they went out of their way to give her like he catches her really early into Johto. She's with him to the end. Um, in fact, I think she actually has like the longest stint on his team of any Pokemon he catches besides Pikachu in the original 3 Kanto starters before he got Talo and Trico, but whatever. And it's like, it's crazy to me that they were able to give Chikorita slash Bayleaf like a really distinct dynamic with him. And then the other 2 starters are just like there just for like background shots and maybe they fight like a gym battle or whatever. I do wish I fully watched Johto. I always hear good stuff about it from fans. Yeah, I like it. Especially now that Misty and Jesse's voice actor died, I've been feeling a lot more nostalgic for Pokemon over the last few weeks and months, rather. Because man, her voice, it's in all 8 of those seasons. All the way from Kanto to the end of Hoenn. That's her voice. I said it's crazy to think this one voice actress, like just from voicing 2 characters, she is in every single episode of Pokemon from the first one, which doesn't even have Jesse in it, all the way to Pasta La Vista, which is like after Ash gets the first frontier symbol. That is wild. Like one voice actor by just voicing 2 characters every episode, like 300, 400, 500 episodes, right? Just right there. I'm serious. Like when you go back and watch Johto, you will notice the first 2 Pokemon he catches in Johto, Heracross and Chikorita, both have distinct dynamics with him. The other ones are just kind of like there to promote the game. Like I have no doubt in my mind that if the writers were not forced to give Ash new Pokemon because they're trying to, keep up with whatever the current crap is, he would have just kept Charizard and Squirtle forever, which I would have been down with. I definitely do like when they add more personality to the Pokemon Ash ponds with. I'm serious. It's really frustrating that they with certain ones like I remember in Diamond and Pearl I really liked um Apom, and then they had him traded with Dawn, and then I liked Turtwig, and then they had him evolve, and he was just kind of lame after that. Just there, just basically there to job, like lose to everybody, which was like the craziest crap in the world to me. Like really, the biggest standout was Chimchar because it was kind of like Charmander, but then it wasn't because we had actually like seen him battle Ash multiple times. And when that episode first came out, I really did not expect Ash to get a second starter because Hoenn had made me think, okay, well, it's going to just be like this. He's just going to get one starter, and then the rival will get a starter, and then the other person will get a starter. So when it was revealed that Paul had Torterra as well, I was like, oh, damn, they're flipping this. Dude, I'm telling you that, like, the, it's just so funny how when they get to Johto, the writers really do go on autopilot. They're like, okay, well, he still rivals with Gary, who he barely sees and has no damn battles with at all. But yeah, that's his rival. We're not going to introduce Silver. And then when they get to when they get to Hoenn, they're like, yeah, no rivals, period, at all. And then you get to Sinnoh, and they're like, oh, here's this extremely new character we've made that is kind of like Silver, but not as much of a crook. Uh, I remember watching Sinnoh in 08, 09. Yeah, me too. It took a lot. You know, the biggest problem for me with that region is just how the fact that like they spend so much time in just one region. Like I thought they were gonna wrap it up sooner so we could have the because Sinnoh also had a battle frontier, but they just didn't do it. They decided to just drag out the region to what I felt was an ungodly number of episodes, and I just kind of got sick of the meandering toward the end. Sinnoh, if I remember correctly, is the longest amount of time Ash spends in a single region. Like it's crazy to think the original, like just Kanto, right? The first region covered in 80 episodes. Sinnoh is twice as long, and then some. Oh boy, it's really wild to think about because it's like they're both 8 gyms. No, think about it. Like it took one season, and dude, like again, maybe it's been a while since you watched Kanto. Ash gets all 8 badges about after 50, 60 episodes, and then there's like a period where it's kind of like a not a honeymoon, but it's like adventures in between. He's waiting for the league to start up, so it's not like oh he gets the 8th badge 80 episodes in. He's able to get all of them after about 50, 60 episodes, which now is like that's the equivalent of like one season of Johto or one season of Hoenn or Sinnoh. Like it's actually the first season of Pokemon's really good in terms of just pacing and like getting to the point because that's when they didn't know that they were going to have to promote this game and that game and this game and that game. And it's unfortunate because when you're looking at a cartoon that's 100 something episodes and based off some pretty lengthy game, you would think they would introduce more things from the game, but they really do not. Um, like you go if you go through and play through gold and silver, all those team Rocket executives that show up are just not in the game. Giovanni is barely utilized in the show, right? When you get to Hoenn, they barely even talk about Team Magma and Team Aqua. It's wild just how little a lot of this stuff actually like translates from one to the other. Like in Sinnoh, the rival from the game doesn't even show up until I think the 6th badge, the 5th badge. It's nuts, and I didn't mind it as much because he was battling, Paul, right, who was like interesting, but still, it's like, damn, you're finally bringing him in this late. Ash's Pokemon are cardboard cutouts. It's like, ooh, what are Cyndaquil's distinct personality traits after he replaced Charizard, one of the most beloved characters in the entire series? Cyndaquil. It's like, okay, whatever. What are Totodile's distinct personality traits after replacing Squirtle, who had been Ash's sixth Pokemon and been with him to through technically three regions? What's his personality? So lame. I'm not even like it's so funny to think that when he has his first and only battle, or I guess his first like full 6-on-6 battle with Gary, he doesn't even use Pikachu. Like the only Pokemon he caught from Johto that he uses are Heracross and Bayleaf, which to me that was always the funniest thing, that in his 6-on-6 battle with his rival of 200 something damn episodes, he doesn't even use his most iconic Pokemon like at all. Like Pikachu just, and I always wondered how the hell did he was Pikachu there like in the audience reviewing stand, but then Ash had a team of six. It was weird, man. Because in the show it was established that once you catch six Pokemon, right, then the seventh one will be like transported back to like just once you catch it, just teleports away. Because that's what we were shown when he caught Krabby. And I was like, how the hell was Pikachu able to like watch that match and technically be part of Ash's party, but then he wasn't used in the 6-on-6? I still don't understand how that what the deal with that was. Although it is funny that his most iconic one didn't even like get used. I wish somebody could explain the physics of that to me. I do wish we could see more May. Oh yeah, May was my favorite of any of the females from that show. Because at the time it was a pretty fresh dynamic where Ash was the experienced trainer and he had this girl traveling with him who had like a specific goal that was like different from his, but he could still, every now and again offer advice, which is what made Dawn kind of feel like a retread. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I wish we could have seen more of her as well. I'm trying to think of what else was supposed to happen in the show that didn't end up happening. Um, I remember the reason that Brock leaves during Orange Islands is because they thought fans would get offended by his appearance, that he would be mistaken for a stereotype, and then when he comes back at the end of season two, that was them like realizing, yeah, there was nothing wrong with him. We should have just kept him the whole time. Oh yeah, Ash's original starter was supposed to be Clefairy, and they changed it to Pikachu because what was the reason again? I have to go look it up. But it was originally supposed to be Clefairy, and then they changed it. Seeing the rematch between Ash and Paul is supposed to take place. If I can find somewhere to watch it that doesn't have a million ads or whatever, sure. I'm telling you, there's so much stuff in that show that just never gets paid off. Like Ash was supposed to have a battle with Max, but because they want to do that stupid "he's 10 forever" crap, we don't get to see it. Rooster's back in action. What's something else? Thinking. Hmm. It is still kind of crazy that they never like used any of the male characters in the games at all, like from the games at all, rather. Also, I literally like have never actually had Meganium. I That is my least favorite final form starter, probably out of all of them. I think it looks horrible. It's got this weird like green skin tone that's like a dark green with this pink flower around. I don't like it at all. I'm serious. Like any game I have, even if I might evolve Cyndaquil all the way or Total all the way, I never. The only way you'd see me evolve Bayleaf is if I'm trying to get everyone for the damn Pokedex. That's it. I can't stand Meganium. That thing is that's one of the worst designs of any of those original like 200 something Pokemon from like Gen 1 and Gen 2. That's probably the worst design out of any of them. Ugly. You can get mad at me for saying it. I don't care. I don't know who thought that looked good. I just don't like what Pokemon has become now. Yeah, it feels like every franchise I was into just got crappy. I'm not sure if Scarlet and Violet is doing well in terms of sales. I know I didn't buy them. I haven't played any of them since what's the game after yeah, X and Y. Yeah, that was the last one. With the Mega Evolutions. Man, I remember when that came out, everybody wanted Mega Evolution Charizard. Everyone wanted, and they wanted the one from Y, that black and blue one. They all wanted that one. You know, your comment is mirroring what Akatsuki Merchant wrote before you showed up because he was like, "I don't like what Dragon Ball has become." Now you sound like what Pokemon has become. All these series are just turning into something despicable. Mm. They're all going to like to the road of crap. Same with DB as well, of course. Well, I I didn't I mentioned this before you showed up. I didn't even watch the new Dragon Ball show, Daimao or whatever it's called, because I'm like, why do I want to see all the characters get turned into kids in some weird story that in all likelihood is not going to matter, is not going to hold any weight. Like they won't give us End of Z, the stuff that comes after around that the time like the manga supposedly ends because they're all insisting that GT is no longer canon. So it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do that's an alternative to that? And then we were talking about this Spark and Zero game and how crazy it was that they cut out Super 17. And I'm like, I've never, in all the like years of playing these different fighting games, I've never seen them take the main villain of an arc and just be like, yank. Never once. But they decided to with this game. And I noticed you didn't respond to my Meganium rant. Look, I don't care if you love Meganium. I don't care if it's one of your favorites. I don't care if you have a Meganium plushie. I don't like it. You can get mad at me. You can curse me out. You can unsubscribe. I don't like Meganium. I don't like its design. I don't like its stats. I don't like its moves. Just throw it away. You're part of the Meganium fan club. Oh, I never really cared for Meganium anyways. But I'm not kidding. Chikorita is probably my favorite starter out of any of, and like I love the Kanto starters to death. Uh like I'm not being facetious when I say that at all. That group of Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charizard, just perfect. But I really like Chikorita, just the design, the whole like, bead necklace around its neck. And I really like Bayleaf. But when you get to Meganium, it took too much. It looks too much like a Bayleaf, but just slightly larger mainly. I'm gonna dispute that one because it's like they change. Like if you look at for alligator and Typhlosion is basically just big Cyndaquil. Okay, it's got that same coloring of the blue on the face head area and then the like yellow body. For alligator has the same blue coloring, even if it's got the yellow mouth part from Crocodile, it still like carries most of the design that like of that same coloring from Totodile. Like you can look and see the evolution. Meganium goes like Bayleaf goes from Meganium to where it went from being yellow to now being green to having and having these like the beads of Chikorita that are now like these kind of uh I guess I don't want to say rectangle. They're like a larger version of that to now being this weird pink flower that's like flowing around. Man, the hell with that. Ugh. So like I said, you can get mad at me, but I don't like that thing. But you understand what I'm saying, right? That like if you look at the other starters, not even just the Johto ones, the Kanto ones too, they look like adult big versions of their first form. You can look at Venusaur and know that that is Bulbasaur, bigger, larger, whatever. Blastoise is Squirtle, but like more looking kind of robotic with the way the head is shaped or whatever. Charizard is Charmander, but with a different head shape and the tail and the wings. Um, Again, same thing with Typhlosion, to a lesser extent with Feraligatr. Meganium is such a departure from like I don't. If you look at that thing, you're really gonna tell me that's Chikorita? It's just too bizarre, man. Look at the Hoenn starters. Swampert looks like big Mudkip. Blaziken does not look like big Torchic, but I still think the design like looks cool. Right, like it looks like a fighter, like firefighting. That's what his form is. Um, Sceptile kind of looks like Trico, like especially in like the head, the upper part, right? And Grovyle definitely looks like Trico. It's just got a larger back part. But man, Meganium is just ugh. And then you get to the Sinnoh starters. Chimchar and Monferno look pretty similar, and then Monferno's design is carried over into Inferno. They put that like blue part in the top head or whatever. Fire Monkey, and then um I'm blanking the name. Turtwig and Growl look pretty similar in the face part, and then Torterra's like got the darker skin tone. Piplup and Primplup look pretty similar in terms of that middle chest area, right? And then when you get to Empoleon, it looks very different, but it still is like there's like something carried over. Like it kind of looks like a middle part. It's not until you get to the Gen 5 stars that these designs start getting kind of out there, like that this has no resemblance to what uh the first form looked like at all. Which again, I'm okay with as long as I think the design choice for the final form looks cool. Meganium does not look cool. That's why I said you can have it. Well, you can look at Embor and still see Tepig's coloring, right? And like, I mean, I know the chest area is different, but you get the idea that like, by the way, that's another thing that pissed me off. You had 3 generations back to back of fire fighting. Just lazy, man. Like I forgave it in Sinnoh because I was like, okay, I think Infernape looks cool. But one of the reasons why I held off on evolving Chimchar for a long time because I was like, I already have Blaziken. Why do I need 2 firefighting starters? The hell? And now you have 3 of them. Think how lazy that is. Three regional starters back to back that are firefighting. Firefighting. Back to like just for what, 10 years straight? It's kind of lame. Imagine if like let me think of an example. Okay, so like Mudkip, once it evolves, is water and ground. Imagine if all the water starters after Gen 2 were just water and ground. Like Empoleon is water. I'm not saying he is. He's water or it is, but just example. Like water and ground for Empoleon, water and ground for whatever Oshawott final form is called. I'm forgetting the name, but you get the point that like you see where it gets kind of redundant. Like you're going to just keep giving the same types over and over again. Greninja, I think. No, Greninja is the Gen 6 starter, the Froakie one. I would never forget Greninja, man, so many people spammed X and Y with Greninja and Charizard. Those were the 2 starters to get Greninja. You pick Froakie, then you pick Charmander, and you got those. Yeah. Over and over again, everybody had those 2. I'll never forget that combination. I won't forget Greninja for as long as I live. That's probably, honestly, Greninja's probably the most popular Pokemon of Gen 6. Like everybody had that damn thing. So I won't soon forget it. Man, you should have seen X and Y like matches back in the day. It was always the same combination: Greninja and Charizard. Somebody really should make like a male Greninja and a female Charizard, or like the other way around, and just make them go have a baby or an egg. Like I just got sick of seeing the same 2 starters. Damn, since nobody ever really picked up. Yeah, Samurott. Well, I liked Oshawott first form a lot. Again, I'm just following the cartoon, but the only Unova starter that evolved was Tepig. So which I kind of thought that was like more copying off Kanto because it's like you get he gets three starters for the first time since the original series, and the only one that evolves at all is the fire one. So yay. I was like, damn, that means Ash doesn't have any all of his like how crazy this is. All of his water starters before Greninja, so Squirtle, Totodile, and Oshawott don't evolve. But then all the fire starters just keep evolving. Just like I think it was a mistake for them to evolve his Turtwig because it was like Paul already had Torterra. So like why do they both need to have the same damn Pokemon? But no, if I picked Oshawott, I would just keep it in its first form. I just like the design too much. Most people have always preferred the fire starters. I would dispute that. So, like, again, Gen 1, everybody loved Charizard. Okay, fine, whatever. Gen 2, people pick Cyndaquil because it's the easy mode. Um, but when we got to Gen 3, I saw a lot of people that would pick Trico. And then you had the Mudkip meme. I heard you like Mudkip, that meme from back in the day. eBay notification at 5 in the morning. Wow. Uh, and then when you get to Gen 4, I don't really think there was a consensus. Like Infernape is popular, but I don't know if his popularity is like so much bigger than Empoleon and Torterra. Again, I'm just going off of like what I remember. But it's like this for Gen 1, the most popular indisputably was Charizard. Like I would go as far as to say that if Charizard was not as popular as it was back in the day and still is, Ash would have just had either 3 unevolved starters or something. Like I don't that's the only reason Charmander evolved is because the Japanese writers knew how much people loved that damn flying lizard. That was the reason that they gave him that one evolved starter and kept like hyping him up for 200 some damn episodes. Um but when you get to the other like regions, it gets a lot more murkier in terms of who's the most liked and most popular. Like up until Gen 6, I think it's pretty like even. And then when you get to Gen 6, everybody's just in love with Greninja. Greninja, Greninja, Greninja. I'm serious. Like Ash's team in Gen 1 is Pikachu and the starters because the writers didn't want any kid who picked one of the starters to feel left out. So like they were all represented by them all being on Ash's team. And Charizard was like allowed to be a thing because of how popular it was in America and just across like just period, right? So if it wasn't as popular, then that might not have happened. And then when you get to the Johto starters, the writers really did not know what to do with them. Like again, besides Chikorita, so it's another one of those things where you see the wheels like turning, especially when you also think about the fact that like when Johto started, they didn't even know if that was actually going to be the ending of Pokemon, which is like wild to think about. Every region, you're just like, okay, maybe this is the conclusion. It's so wild thinking like imagine if Pokemon ended with Gen 2. As bad as things have gotten, I almost wish it ended with the fourth or fifth one. Like there are things I like about the other regions, but I just get kind of irritated with the whole like starting over aspect of stuff. I was trying to remember which game was it that had the totem challenges. And, oh, it was like, oh yeah, Sun and Moon. I remember when they remade Ruby and Sapphire, and they're like, you can't customize your character in these games. Like, you guys introduced the ability to customize the protagonist in, I believe it was X and Y. But then for some damn reason, I can't make my character look any different when you guys decide to go. Just stupid stuff. And then when they got to those Diamond and Pearl remakes, everybody turned on them. Yeah, that was my turning point in Pokemon that I decided to drop the series. It wasn't so interesting to me. Well, I mean, look, I can't blame you if you get sick of watching Ash go to a different region, catch, get 8 badges, catch like 5, 6 Pokemon, and then, lose the league, and then it starts all over again. But that was one of the reasons why the original was so special to me because when season one was going, they thought it was going to be just one big season. Um, in fact, actually, if you go and watch old commercials for WB, they thought that the first season was 2 or 3 seasons because I remember that Princess versus Princess episode. They were like, "New season of Pokemon." It's like, no, this is still season one. They're in Kanto. Um, but again, one of the reasons that the original show, like, I still like the most, think it's the holds the biggest like place in my heart, is because it's a thought experiment. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't have a formula set out. Um, you're really seeing them fire on all cylinders because as far as they can tell, this is going to be over with this season or that season or this season. And honestly, if you wanted to, you could, when you stop watching it like the end of Johto, you can just say, okay, well, Ash is on some new adventure and whatever, and you can just hypothesize what he'll do over there because that original trio of Ash, Misty, and Brock, once it's separated, it never gets back together in any permanent basis. It really was the end of an era for the whole damn series. Oh boy. Mm. Well, Serena had the same problem all the girls do. They get rid of him after a few seasons. One of the most unique characters, of course. Yeah, I liked her. She was fun. You won't see me having any issue with her at all. Oh man. Oh. I keep forgetting Sonic 3 is coming out. I still refuse to watch the Journeys. It'll never happen. I mean, you're within your right to not bother with this stuff. I feel the same way about Boruto. That damn rooster. Oh yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday and they asked me if I was sure that Mixed Signals Queen was gone. I'm like, yeah, they took her off the schedule. Like she's history. What they think is the only time I've seen somebody get taken off the schedule and then come back were managers or someone that transferred. She was fired. There's no coming back from that. You're done. You're out of here. All of your absences and tardies, and maybe I'll come to work today or tomorrow. It caught up with you. You're through. Your history. They make her sound like Frieza. She, I thought you were gone. It's like my subordinates brought me back to life. Instead of resurrection F, we're gonna have resurrection Dingbat. She rises from the ground with her golden form. I've come to try to get you in trouble again over something that was my fault. People are so excited when somebody is like actually gotten rid of, and so in such disbelief because they normally don't do it that they still can't believe they're actually like gone. They're finished. It's like, well, believe it. You want to sit there and not come to work or show up late every other day? Like the hell you think is gonna happen? And she did it over and over and over again, man. It was crazy. And that's why when I was talking to Akatsuki merchant about these coworkers of mine before you showed up, I said the scariest thing to me is like a person like me, right? They if they don't work, they'll have no money and then they will die because no support. But it's like a lot of these stupid kids. And when I say kids, I'm not even like just talking about like minors. A lot of these kids really do view their job as a joke. That's why they show up late. That's why they don't show up at all. That's I mean, it's really scary that like for some of these people, because it's like you're not, even if you're not financially dependent on your job because somebody else pays whatever basic stuff you need, um, you still should have some kind of like seriousness when it comes to your work ethic, like just showing up on time, right? Doing the things you're asked to do. And if people are going to work a job and not be around enough to even show up consistently or whatever other like goofy stuff they do, what's even the point of having a job? I've come across some chicks who actually like Pokemon, but they are mostly tail riding their favorite Pokemon. Don't explain why they like so much and still act very childish. Oh yeah, well the girl that did her stupid thing to me a few days what was that? Monday morning, yeah. She admitted she uses emulators to play the old Pokemon games. I'm surprised we actually talked this long without me mentioning what happened with her. So, new Discord woman appeared on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever. 24 hours turnaround, and she sends me a friend request after we're in the VC together for a little bit in that same stupid server. She doing the same usual routine. They all act so interested in getting to know you. Da, da, da. We have this VC that's like an hour and a half where she's playing some video game, and I'm like talking, and I thought it was going well, but then about an hour and a half in, she's like, I don't think I want to do this again. I don't really like it. And I was like, then why'd you do it in the first place? Well, you seem kind of nice, and I say to her, if you don't want to do this, I can't make it. It's like, but I said no. I was like, all right, fine. And she's like, all right, I'll see you a message later, and that's when I went and did my waste of time stream because I'm like, what was the point of talking to me for that damn long if you were going to say you never want to do this again, right? Like what's the point? So at some point after she ended, we ended that call and she promised to send me a message. She blocked me. And I was like, man, you know, I get so tired because like I laughed, right? Because it is funny, it is stupid, but like I really don't enjoy calling out parallels, like when things start lining up. Like, oh, there's a woman who I met who had a private call with me, and then she blocked me, and this all happened in like the span of less than 2 days. Oh, just like the girl that had the PowerPoint. And by the way, she's from just another regular day on Discord. Yeah, Piscord. Dude, my favorite part is that she's from Australia, which is the same country that my, supposed ex fiance was from. From this point forward, I don't want to talk to anybody else from Australia. Now, of course, I know that people online are just crappy no matter where they're from, but she like made me think of her because of the them being from the same country, and it was time wasting in both cases, although not as much on the part of the latter, but still. So if you're from Australia, I want to talk to you. We're gonna ban you via region. Man, what would I look like if I had some woman sitting in the call with me for like an hour and a half and just like, I don't really like this. Okay, why did you agree to sit here with her for an hour and a half? Well, you seem pretty nice. Oh, it's just some generic server crap. You seem pretty nice. Person I'm gonna block after this call that was supposedly with the person I like or wanted to speak to or da da da. And then we were in a call together after like a group call, and I thought about like I joined the call. I thought about saying something, but I said, you know what? What's the point? Like I could do what I did with the other one, right? Where I kind of like make comments about it while I'm in the call with her. The other one was in the Discord room video, but I said, I just don't see a purpose anymore. Like trying to talk to them, trying to speak. It just feels like people, for whatever reason, a lot of these chicks are on this accelerated race to the bottom where they'll talk to you for a while and then, just like a kamikaze explode over anything. And I tell you that a lot of times they do things that make me believe, like genuinely believe they do this on purpose, and they either want to start something with you that's a conflict or just purposefully, spite you. And I just don't have the patience for it anymore. So the zero women plan is coming closer and closer to fruition because you got the one lady who still who's been missing in action for like 2 or 3 months now, at least 2 months now, I think. Last time I spoke to her was like in August. You got the other one the one that likes to draw, even though she's online, not right now, as far as I can tell, but like has been online for the last couple of days. Haven't gotten a response from her since I think the start of last month. And then you got that other dingbat, the one that was like, "Are you flirting with me?" She's been online. I sent her a message. She didn't respond. So they're all like seeing their way out the door. Yeah, I agree with what you said about them having a self-destruct sequence that's bound to go off regardless of what you do or say. Literally, man, I got, I mean, I have proof of this. I didn't insult her. I didn't call her out of her name. I didn't say, you must do VCs with me. All I said was, I thought you liked speaking to me. Because I was genuinely surprised. Person I've been sitting in this call with for an hour and a half telling me, I don't think I want to do this again. Why not? Because I like it. I tried as hard as I didn't yell. I didn't. Man, these are some aggravating bastards. I'm not like I'm really not kidding. When you look at this stuff and you just see how calm you are, how you try to just talk to the person. Hey, um, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable or for you to do something that you don't enjoy. Maybe we can talk this out and just again, like the false assurances. Oh, you seem nice, and I'll send you a message later. And then it's followed by them putting the needle in you. Seriously, like this is just my fate. This is what they do. Everybody wants to sit there and pretend that they like talking to you, and we're it's so fun, but they don't give a damn. Just debating what I want to eat before sleeping. I think probably some soup. Oh, serious. They turn so much. Like you can't trust a single damn thing they say. If a woman tells you she likes you, she likes talk. I had a girl at my job say I was one of her favorite people that worked there. I went, right. Because I don't trust any of them anymore. The only way you could get me to believe some broad actually want to speak to me is if we talked about this before, she aggressively tried to like call, send messages, but you don't see that, man. They're so passive. And with this one, she was the one that sent me the friend request. Just like the one that said stale point of disinterest, just like the one with the stupid PowerPoint. This is what they do. They get you in their sights, in their crosshairs, right? And they make it sound like they like talking to you. Yeah, how you doing? Da, da, da. And then after a few days, few weeks, just like this girl who's constantly traveling so many places, but not once she mentioned about traveling to where I met, to where I live to meet. Yeah, they don't care. She has all this damn money to go all over the world, but she can't come to see you. All the money to go all these different places. I don't want to say this, but I am getting disheartened by it. I'd get disheartened too. See, the thing is, like, for example, if there was some woman I went to go see, or whatever, like, I don't have the money to just fly somewhere right now. So, like, she, if I tell her I want to see you, but I can't, she's not going to have the conflicting, you know, like my claim, but then the conflicting reality of me traveling to this state and this country and all the rest of that stuff. Um, with her, it's like it's so blatantly obvious she has the resources to make that trip. She just doesn't want to, and it's like, okay, if you don't want to, we can't force you to. But why the hell are we talking to you? What's the point? So I don't blame you for being disheartened. I'd be disheartened too. I'd say, man, this is stupid. This is dumb. Oh, I'm so sick of these damn roosters. They do this every time I stream. No, I don't blame you for being disheartened at all. I'd be disheartened all the way as well. What about parents? I know they can also be a factor too. What do you mean? Do you mean like parents who tell someone don't meet this person or what? Oh. Oh, somebody said, man, if I go and get Deadpool and Wolverine this week for $30. I mean, I'd have to still clear out space on my computer to even be able to download it, or I guess have it like on my hard drive. So it's also lame. Like it's just a big trade off if they still live with their parents and they aren't on board with their daughter meeting a guy they are interested online. Like they are totally against finding a genuine person online. Oh yeah, well that's more stuff counting against you. But it's like think of how insane this is. A woman can get a date with a guy that she knows in real life, and a lot of men, because of just desperation, come online trying to meet somebody that they can like at least hope or believe in the idea might like them to that point. So she has the option to say, no more online men or no more real life men, right? Like it's not going to affect her chances of meeting someone that likes her regardless. Um, I already told you, like, I used to think I didn't have the choice to make that decision, but I'm serious. These online chicks, they're done. Like they're history. I'm not about to sit here and play all these stupid games with people that are not serious and are just wasting my time. And I explained to you before, I don't get anything out of dating some woman I can't touch, like or hang or actually like physically be around. It's stupid. Oh, maybe one day she'll move to where you are. Now the single one has communicated that desire to do that. Maybe if you just keep hoping, she might appear. Bagumi, you're in the UK. How's your girlfriend from Germany doing? Like you guys are having a real fun time together, huh? Then relocating to where you live, absolutely no way. Well, see, that's why the coworker thing was such a shame because it's like, you know, here's a person that you live around where you guys can drive to go see each other, and it will cost her almost nothing to just hang out with you this weekend. You pay for the tickets, go see the damn movie. And for whatever reason, despite her agreeing to do this, you just can't let it happen. It's just she will not she will fight tooth and nail to not do that with you. You might as well be asking her to enlist in the US military. I mean, that's how hard she's fighting against just hanging out. It's so sad, man. And it's like I said to you, if it's this hard to get somebody who knows you, has met you multiple times, claims to like being around you, at least when you're on the job, of course, because you're like, the puppet on the string. And yet you can't get this person to just go to a remember, you're not asking her to meet you in some damn dark alley. You're trying to go see a movie together. You know, public place, a bunch of people. She's not paying for her ticket. She's not paying for any damn thing other than maybe the 2 cents of gas it'll take to go and drive to the theater right by her house. And she just will not do it. And not only will she not do it, she will pretend that she will eventually do it someday if you just keep hoping. It's disgusting, man. LOL, I just say I don't have anyone, or I'll get questioned. Well, where is she? Yeah, that is really sad. That's why I said that encounter really like made me abandon the belief that even people in real life could be taken seriously. Everything is transactional and circumstantial. Just like there was a guy who I worked with, and I tried to set up go hanging out with him on the weekend to like go see just go do something together, right? And I start hearing about he doesn't have his car, and hey, can we drive you? And I'm just like, Oh, I see what this is. So you're not really interested in getting to know me or do something with me. You just want a taxi. You just want somebody to just pick you up and take you to where you have to go. And I'm like, man, that's so lame. Think about that. Like when he has his car, no interest in setting anything up with me at all. Whatever. I'm nothing. Right. I might as well not even be alive. But when he doesn't have his vehicle, oh yeah, you want to hang out this weekend? You can pick me up, and then it's like, what is that? Because like my friend, he has his car, and when he and I went to go see Deadpool and Wolverine, we went to a theater that was like meet each other halfway there, right? And then we went and saw it. Like that was it. It's just crazy that people are constantly again everything's just transactional. Like I that goes back to my thing of like why I said nothing feels real anymore. It's all just the appearance of something. Like a lot of people in my job are like, we're friends against the appearance of camaraderie, but they'll be the first ones to ignore you when they're clocked out. By the way, Megumi, let me know if you want to hear something sad because I had a realization a few days ago, or about a week ago. I just haven't shared on a stream yet. And like I'm not kidding when I say it. I was thinking about this and it actually made me kind of like just more disturbed. So let me know if you want to hear it. Because I'm not trying to depress you. I'm not trying to turn this into the wallowing in pity party or whatever. It's just me making an observation. So I had one relative that was born in August and died in January. Excuse me, backwards. Born in January, died in August. They were cremated, so I have like no place to go to, give my respects. I just like think about them and that's it. I have another one who was born in December, died in October, and another one who was born in November and died in September. So I was thinking about this because remember, this is just three people. This is the same group when I did my "We Can't Go Back" video. I had the epiphany that if I went to the like if all three of them were buried somewhere, which only two of them are, but if all three of them were buried somewhere, and I went to the cemetery just for birthdays and death anniversaries, that means I would go to the cemetery every single month for half a year. Just from those three people and just how spaced out all the like how close together the birthdays and passings are. If I went to the cemetery just to visit three people, I would be going to the cemetery every single month for half a year. I'm serious. You would go there in August for a death. You would go there in September for a death, October for a death, November for a birthday, December for a birthday, and January for a birthday. Yeah, those three were born in months that succeeded each other, November, December, January, and they died months that succeed each other, August, September, October. So it would be 3 months of death anniversaries and then 3 months of birthdays. Man, I'm just so sick of going to funerals and I'm so tired of it. This person doesn't feel good. This person says, "Come see me," but like I'm just. I had someone call me a few about like a 2 or 3 weeks ago saying they felt like they were dying. I'm like, stop, man. Just like I said, I don't see the point to a lot of this stuff. Remember, the full extent of someone's life is working some job that they hate so they can have like a little bit of money to get their little bit of crap. Getting ignored by a majority of their relatives, including the ones that were responsible for them even being here in the first place, who never have any shortage of excuses for why they can't help you, and watching people that you care about die what seems to be every other year while having nothing gained except getting to watch people who, you know, actually got to have families and just, advance. It's all just really frustrating. The whole cycle is just so lame. Yeah, that guy at my job, the one that was, talking about, I saw you flirting with this. He made, I don't know if I mentioned, but he made like some comment. I reminded him of some Sesame Street character because I'm always complaining. I'm just like, dude, what adult that is dissatisfied with the current state of their life would not be complaining? And that's one of the reasons why, when that guy tried to say we were friends, I just rolled my eyes and like very directly said we're not, because it's like no friend of mine would have difficulty understanding why I am dissatisfied with the way things are. It is not rocket science. I am not speaking in riddles. I give clear, direct reasons for my, disenfranchising, disillusion. I'll still word you used earlier, disheartening. Seriously, I'm just tired of all the death. I feel like the only thing I'm just guaranteed is just death. That scary realization you mentioned before about your existence, how the people you care about dying, and then you constantly denied to even start a family in the future. Yeah, it's literally just you. I mean, that's why I did the video. Everything started crumbling, leaving nothing, because it just seems like nothing is gained. Like it's always going to be the same crappy group of 30 something, 40 somethings that will sit there and tell and wag their finger while doing nothing. When that tire thing happened, I had one of the relatives. This is why I told you need to get new tires. And I'm like, where do you think like Megumi, to replace four tires with new tires, that's like 200, $300. Where the hell do they think this money comes from? On trees? Just nuts, man. Magic tires, magic money. I was even having this conversation a year ago. I said, when I did that stream and it got crashed by that person, and they made the comment like, I'm not buying you food. You're an adult. I said, it's so funny to watch someone who doesn't want to do something just have a million excuses for why they can't do it. And it's like, okay, first the excuse was, oh, I don't have the money. I'm so poor. And then the second excuse is now you're an adult. So that's how you know that even if they had more money, quote unquote, when they do have enough money, they just don't care. They would still like find an excuse to not be involved. Because that's what they do. When people don't want to do something, they find any damn excuse to just not do it. They'll throw everything but the kitchen sink at why they can't do something. It's really pathetic. You are surrounded by a generation of negligent people who shouldn't have had who really don't deserve the right to call themselves parents or guardians. They are a walking, talking disgrace. Just disgusting, man. People want to sit there and call themselves parents or guardians, and then it really like makes me want to vomit. Everybody always has an excuse for why they can't help someone. It doesn't matter if it costs some, it doesn't matter if it's free. They will never assist. Or if they do decide to assist, it's way after the fact. What the hell kind of dad would I look like if I sat there for 3 years calling my son lazy, but then never tried to help him get a job? How much does that cost? What kind of parent would I look like if my kid is having to pay hundreds of dollars to the bank as a part-time employee, and at the same time I'm sticking my hand out for some money too, while also refusing to assist him with basic utilities like food and get. I mean, like who the hell can afford this? That's what I said, man. Like I'm not kidding. When I pass, knowing I never have to see any of these people again is the one thing I look forward to. I'm so sick of them and their negligence and their arrogance and their selfishness. And just like I mean, I don't know what their end goal is supposed to be. Like what do you think you're going to get out of treating someone this way? Just Looney Tunes, man. Oh man, we might have to do a self parody the video. Too backwards and so much to see. Well, that's why I said never an honest word. Hey, remember, hey, I need food to survive. Just because someone doesn't care about you in the particular ways in which you would prefer. I'll tell you, that was one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. I prefer to eat. Yep. I prefer to need a job to survive. These are all things that are just my preferences. So backwards and so much deceit. I mean, they just if you saw some of the things they lie about, it really would surprise you. Like some of these people I truly believe are allergic to telling the truth. But we're in a generation of liars and scammers. That's why when I go to job interviews and they ask me, "Do you want to? How many hours do you want to work?" I just tell them part time because, like, I know they're not going to hire me full time. So what's even the point of asking that? It's stupid. Do we have anything else left to say? Because I am getting kind of hungry and I did want to go to sleep soon. You've been hearing me yawn for the last hour. I can assure you, I'm not some actor. I'm not playing it up for the camera. I really am kind of tired. I'm gonna spend today trying to get another job so that I can keep telling them to go to hell when they ask me if I want to stay longer, and then just so they can cut me off another day. They can give you the illusion that you're making more money. Any further comments, thoughts, theories, concerns, statements? I just don't know why it is our fate, it seems, to have such miserable circumstances like this. And look, man, I'm not trying to be funny. I feel like if I try hard enough, and when I say hard enough, I mean, go through a whole bunch of just nonsense with these jobs where one will say this and then do something else. I could probably get a job to get two jobs, right? Like have one for these days, one for these other 3 days or whatever. I would hate to work two places in one day, but if it comes down to that, then I mean, it's just the fate I have. But when it comes to the stuff with these relatives, the stuff with these chicks, I just don't see a path forward because you're not dealing with something you can change. These are bad people. These are bad people who are antagonistic to what you want. In many cases, they're just antagonistic to you outright. And the only solution I can think of is just to accept these are the cards you've been dealt and try to make the best of whatever other things you might have. Because I told you, like I just don't see this getting better. These people are rancid. They're terrible. They're time wasters, they're liars, anything you can think of that is bad, they usually can fit into it. So I would strongly endorse just having like nothing to do with them. Mm. So I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will let me see, do I work on Monday? But ugh. Mm. Oh damn, I do. Okay, I'll stream again on Tuesday then. Tell you that schedule just fluctuates and flips and switches, and I mean it's all over the place. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. And like I said, this stuff is not going to, I don't think any of the stuff related to people is going to get better. But I do believe that when it comes to just what we do and, other avenues, they can be improved with hard work. Um, so I guess that's the one silver lining I put on this. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good rest of your weekend.